it really irks my nerves when someone is like, oh wow, I just don't know how you do it with your blindness. If I went blind, I would kill myself.
And they think that it's a compliment or something.
Right. Is that a compliment? How the fuck am I supposed to feel about that?
Like your life is better not even happening, not even existing.
And what I really want to say is, well, I'm sorry you think so little of yourself, your capabilities, your resilience as a human being, to not think that you could adapt to something like that happening to you. And honestly, it could be you. At the blink of an eye, something could happen and you could have a disability. Yes. And that's how you're going to overcome that, by thinking, oh, I'd rather be dead than deal. People with disabilities go on to have full lives, and it's so insulting that people think that our quality of life, obviously it is affected by our disability, but I think any number of things could affect your quality of life, not just a disability, and you can still have a beautiful life in spite of those things.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Babies Down, Bottles Up. This is Taryn, and I'm here with my best ladies. How are y'all?
Hey, girl.
Hey.
Everybody. I feel so lit today.
We're in the time machine. Y'all heard our first episode from Coming Back. How was it? I'm sure it was great and wonderful. Definitely leave us some reviews and subscribe to the podcast. We'd appreciate it so very much. But on to the most important part. What are y'all drinking?
Okay, first and foremost, happy 420.
Yes. Happy holidays to those who celebrate.
Right. Yes. Happy Christmas. Oh, I never heard that before.
Me either.
That's cute. Sorry. I got it from Jamel. I didn't even go front. Like, he's the friend.
Yeah, I should have known. No, I'm just kidding.
But I'm actually drinking Buzz Balls, and it's my first time trying them.
Is it good?
They're so good. I got four different kinds, but the one I'm drinking right now is the strawberry margarita. And they're like shaped like, Taryn, what did you describe them as?
My husband said they look like a grenade, and they're so cute and they're so good. I haven't tried one that I didn't like.
Tiny,
yeah, they're small,
but it's 15% alcohol content. And what I really like is that they're Texas made and they're woman owned. And
yes,
the Buzz Balls are like really girly, like the aesthetic, the colors and everything that they use. It's just like a really
Do
girly...
they have them everywhere in Texas?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's what I'm going to drink next week. So don't be surprised. I'm going to try
They're so good.
So ritual, Saturday drinking. Bring it on.
10 out of 10. Recommend.
I'm drinking vodka, and then I was like, what do I mix it with? I found that we had a cranberry watermelon juice, and it's actually really good.
That sounds
so good.
I love anything watermelon.
Right? Me too.
Limeade or apple cranberry, not the alcohol, but the juice. Or sounds really good.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, and like it's good.
Well, the more you drink it, the better you feel about it.
Yeah. Especially with vodka in there. You're like, well, I mean.
Yeah.
Well, it's super sweet too. So I'm like, you can't really taste the alcohol at all. You know?
That's
I was
dangerous.
like, how much do I put in it?
But it fucks you up faster and you never even know. It sneaks up on you. I'm drinking, hold on. This is my third glass. So let me try to remember.
She's like, I don't know, but it shit is good.
Hey, but remember, Keisha's the one that never knows what she's drinking. She never knows what she's making.
What is the trend? Okay, I'm drinking Snoop Dogg's 19 Crimes Rosé.
Yeah, I've had the sweet red version of that, and it's really good.
So I was going to get this wine that my sister-in-law bought for me for my birthday like 2 years ago. It's called Sweet Bitch, but I also wanted to get it from this other place, and so the other place didn't have it. But it's pink.
I never heard of that.
It's really good.
Mm.
Yeah, it's really good. But this one's pink. So Snoop Dogg, if you're listening, which I doubt you are, good job.
It's for 20. He busy.
Right.
She said, well done.
Yeah.
He's probably here in Colorado. He likes to make his way here.
Especially today.
Especially
Right.
today. It's a Saturday too?
I was thinking, man, a lot of people are probably disappointed because the weather's so ugly, you know, and they always plan like a bunch of things for 420.
Like festivals and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Wiz Khalifa is always here.
I know. I've always wanted to do the Colorado 420
he's at a
festival.
concert. I feel like my friend is at a concert with him today. I feel like I just saw it on Facebook. Oh, that makes sense.
Snoop, we know you'd be listening if you didn't have prior engagement. So we'll forgive you this time.
Right.
Speaking of rosé, I'm having Prosecco rosé. And,
Ooh,
you know,
I like doing mimosas with Prosecco.
She's classy.
I went to Taryn's house. Man, like, oh my gosh. It was around her birthday time 3 years ago because her birthday is coming up. And she gave me Cabernet. And I had never tasted it before, ever. And we were just sitting on the couch with our Cabernet. I don't know where the hell the kids were. And I don't know where the hell the men were. But,
it didn't matter. It was y'all's world.
I'm definitely a cab girly. It's so good.
It was good.
It's just a little too dry for me.
The more dry,
it was
the
a little
better
dry,
for me.
but it was free.
That's why I can't do Merlot either.
Same, girl.
Yeah.
Y'all hit us up and tell us what y'all's favorite wine is. I don't have
Please
one.
do. Maybe we'll try it too on an upcoming episode.
Yeah.
Well, we are very excited to tell y'all that we are actually starting a series. We're starting a 3-part series, and we are going to be talking about perceptions that the public has for blind moms, our family has, professionals like doctors and teachers and counselors. And we are also going to interview a mom who went through everyone's worst nightmare and had her sweet baby removed from her custody for a period of time. So please stay tuned for the next couple of episodes because I'm sure nobody's going to want to miss that. We have lots of good stuff to talk about, lots of really relatable things for you other blind moms because we know we are not the only ones.
I would like to point out that we have our first or our next 6 episodes already planned. So like we're actually like on it. Yeah, not to brag.
Well, I also wanted to add that the reason we decided to do a series on misconceptions is because I think it's a reoccurring theme in our lives as blind parents. But not just that, I think that apart from it being frustrating and misguided, it's also dangerous because people that aren't educated about what blind parents are able to do, how we take care of our kids, can, become concerned and report us to authorities because they're just ignorant or misinformed or they don't believe in our abilities. And so it's really important for us to highlight some of the common things that we notice from the public and, all those things. And hopefully we can educate someone out there so that they can believe in blind people.
Or just ask. All you have to do is ask. If you ask, we're very open. Most of us are, and we'll tell you. It's nothing wrong with not knowing, but the fact that you don't take steps to find out before you go to the extreme.
So many people just think that if they don't know personally how we do things, then obviously we just can't do that.
Right.
And that's just so not the truth. We just may do things differently, but we're able to do all the same things.
Probably better than you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't say that out loud. Sorry.
Sure did. Sorry, not sorry.
This is 3 Drink Keisha. She came with the spice today.
Let it go. Yes.
My bad. Not really.
Yes.
Well, that kind of leads us into the first thing that we wanted to talk about. And it's how so often when we run into people in the public, we are the first blind person that they have ever come across. So not only are we trying to show people when we're out and about that we are capable blind people, but we're capable blind parents, but that's also the impression that they're going to hold with them and that they're going to take with them into life going forward. So it's like an added layer of pressure. Like, not only do we have to have our shit together so that nobody assumes that we're deadbeat parents, but we're setting the stage for all the other blind parents that are going to come behind us.
Yeah. I remember Blaney, she is a longtime mentor of mine. She was on the train in Atlanta and someone had offered to help her. And she's like, no, it's okay. I got it. Because, I mean, she had it. She did this route all the time. And they were like, this is why I don't like helping blind people. Y'all always rude and don't want help.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's why I always say, like, it's important as blind people to show that we can do things because, like Taryn said, somebody could only met one blind person and had a bad experience. And they're probably thinking all the blind people are like that. And two people play a part. So the blind person plays a part to show that we're all different. It's a spectrum, right? We're not all the same. And then for the sighted person, it's important that they play the part of, okay, just because one blind person did this doesn't mean the other. Because it's like, if you go meet a sighted person, they're not the same. So why not think of blind people the same way?
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. I mean, think about all of us. Like, we're very good friends, but we're all so different in just so many ways.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I often just think about how, as blind parents, we don't have the luxury to throw on whatever and walk out the house looking crazy and go run an errand and pop into a store and pop out of the store and go back home without interacting with anybody. Because literally the moment we step out of our house, we get into an Uber, we talk to the driver, we get to the store, we ask for a personal shopper. We depend on interactions to get through our tasks.
We're basically walking magnets.
Yes. Like, we're under a microscope. Everybody's watching us.
Right. Like, we don't have the luxury to be bum ass moms. Like, we don't,
Shit, a bum ass person in general. Like, you can't walk out with a bonnet on your head.
Yeah. You know how many times I wish I could just go to Target, get the one thing that I need, and get out without asking anyone for anything. And you can't do that.
Or people freaking out. Oh my God, there's a door right there. I'm like, oh yeah, I have a cane. Oh, yeah. But you just can't.
Like, how do you think I got here?
Right. Hello?
Like, yeah. And it's the same as, with your kids. We also can't afford having our kids walk out the door with whatever they have on, because if they look crazy, they're going to say, oh, it's because their
mom is blind. Yeah.
We never get the benefit of the doubt. Like, other people may assume, oh, it may be wash day or something happened on the way out the door. But for us, it's just like, oh, your poor blind mom. And it's never the dad. It's always the mom.
Yeah.
Oh, your mom didn't do. Oh, you have mismatched socks on. And it's not mismatched sock day. But a little sighted kid with a little sighted parent can go out and they
with
can
the little sighted parent.
They can have mismatched socks all day, and it's nothing.
Mm-hmm. It's not a big deal. It's so true.
But, and it's also so unfair because for a lot of times we are the first blind person somebody has met. Mm-hmm. And so there's also, like Taryn was saying, there's this added layer of pressure where it's like, I'm out here not only representing myself, my family, I'm also representing the blind community. And that kind of role, sometimes we don't ask for it, we don't want it, but that's just how it is, because you might be the only blind person that they have come across, and you don't want them to leave with a negative idea of you, because the next blind person that they come across, they're going to judge them by how you came across and the perception that you gave them.
Yeah, so don't be out here acting like a bunch of bumbling idiots, okay? Because I don't want to have to reteach somebody
just PSA to the blind community, get your shit together when you're out in public.
Like, don't be fumbling around. Don't act like you can't buckle your damn seatbelt. Get in the car, buckle your seatbelt, and
make sure your hair looks nice. Run a comb through your hair. Shit.
Right.
So here's the thing, though. I mean, I'm sure there are days where, like, yeah, you take the time to be nice and not be rude and, like, educate and answer questions and all that. But I'm sure there are days where you're just like, I don't have time for this right now. Like, I know I do.
Oh, yeah.
I have a story for this one. I just had surgery not too long ago. And the anesthesiologist, I'm just so used to people asking so often, like, how much can you see? Because I'm not total. And she started asking. And honestly, I got a little annoyed. And I'm like, I'm just blind. I can't see. No, I can't read print, and just assume that I can't see anything. And when she left, my husband was like, babe, she just was trying to figure out how much she could see so she could pass it along to the nurses for when you wake up, they need to know. And I'm so tired of answering that question that I was a little bit short with her for no reason. I shouldn't have been like that, but I was, just because it gets old. It gets tiring. It gets exhausting.
My students, this how many fingers do I have up trick thing. And And I try to be like, I can't see that well. But I try to like catch myself so I don't like flip out on a little 5th grader. But like, I'm so sick of hearing that question.
Yeah.
It's rough because with little kids, like, I don't know, it always bothers me when I hear, so I guess quick background, I was at my kid's swim class the other day, and I'm walking with my kids, and I'm holding my cane, and a little kid started asking the dad, like, what does she have? Right? Like wondering what my cane was for. And like, how the parents try to quiet their kids, like to not be heard. And I'm just like, I hate when parents do that, because again, like, I wish they would encourage the questions and no assumptions. Just ask. Like,
yes.
And children are just so innocent. They're just curious, and you tell them, and then they just move along.
And the thing is, you're setting a bad precedent by doing that. You're really doing a disservice to your child by not letting them ask the questions, because they're going to grow up thinking that a disability is something hush hush. It's like the elephant in the room. It's something that we don't talk about. And they grow up with that.
It's just like a negative.
Like this like big thing that they just can't address. And so it leads to them not knowing how to interact with people with disabilities.
Yes.
I agree. And that's why I say, like, whoever's blind and has a sighted kid, we're raising some very special individuals.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to accept everybody for who they are, no matter what their situations are.
And the disability is not going to be the first thing that they see, with other kids. That's what it is. Like, again, the little kid saw me with a cane and was like, oh my gosh, like, what is that? And was super curious about it. And then of course the parents just trying to shut it down, and I'm like, please come over here and ask me. Like, that was literally my thought.
Oh, how hard is it to say, like,
that's a future,
their arms don't work.
Yes. And that's a future voter. That's a future neighbor that other people are going to have. And at such a young age, we can educate children and they can grow up more informed. And how much better would that make the world? Like, I have a child with multiple disabilities, and she uses a wheelchair, and she has a feeding tube and oxygen and so on and so forth. And people act like I know she has these things. Like, you're not going to hurt my feelings by pointing it out.
Right.
And she wants to be just a normal kid like everyone else. And once the other children know, like in her class or in her school or in church or what have you, once they know, it's a non-factor after that. Children just don't care. They care if you're a good person. They care if you have fun playing, but they don't care beyond that. And how amazing to have that innocence.
True. My kids met your daughter when I think maybe Zanaya was crawling and Zane was, I don't know, they're young. And they didn't care. Like,
no, they barely even noticed.
With them, and they thought it was funny. And like, they chased her. And like, she chased them. And like, they don't care.
It was just another kid. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. We have fun. That's so true.
Well, are there any other things that the public assumes or does when we're out and about that we want to bring up?
So I take Uber and Lyft a lot. And so for one, I have had drivers be surprised that I could buckle myself. Now that's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, absolutely crazy.
Found it. A lot of people have trouble finding that. And I'm like, I'm probably sure you're just saying that because I honestly don't know why you're saying that. But not only that, I have my times where I talk with drivers and when I don't. So it all depends on my mood. Most of the time I end up talking to drivers. People, I don't know what it is. Like people just start talking to me in the car. And then like when I tell them what I do, and they're like, oh my gosh, no wonder you're a therapist. It's so easy to talk to you. But when I tell them that I have my master's and then I have like my license to be an associate counselor, wow, like you do that? Oh my gosh. And then the line that I guess I should feel grateful for, but maybe not, is you inspired me today. I'm so glad I met you. And I'm glad that I met them too. But I hate that they say I inspired them, because if they had a sighted person get in the car that said they had their master's and they were an associate counselor, they wouldn't be saying, oh my God, you inspired me so much today. And I'm not anyone's pity party, or.
Right. It's like people assume that we are less intelligent because we can't see. Like my brain works fine. My ears work fine
Exactly.
too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I guess I don't know what they think, honestly. And I'm not here to brag, but I feel like sometimes blind people have more ambition than sighted people, because it's not that easy for us to go out and get a job at McDonald's, or it's not that easy for us to go walk into Target and say, hey, I want to apply. Like I went to school because I felt like I didn't have a choice, because I knew how hard it was going to be for me to find a job.
You have to be more marketable.
Yeah, you have to be more marketable. And I'm like a first generation graduate because of that. Because I feel like
me too, bitch.
Hey. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I feel like my sisters, they could just go out and get a job whenever, and they can, they still do school here and there, but it's not, they don't feel like they have to depend on it. It's not something that they depend on like for livelihood. Like,
the military is still out there, sighted people like we are in a recruitment crisis. Yeah, you can always join the army.
So it's like, they don't have to have that. Well, if I don't, there's a 70% unemployment rate for blind people, and they don't have to worry about that.
And don't nobody want to talk about that.
Exactly. Like, nobody wants to talk about that.
But again, all of that also goes back to misconceptions that the general public has about disabilities, not even just blindness, just disability in general. Because you walk into an interview and maybe you look good in paper, but when they see you and they see the cane or the dog or whatever, that all immediately goes out of the window. It's
off-putting to them.
Yes. And it's like a lot of times you're not even judged on your skills or how good of an interviewer you are. It's all depending on how your interviewer feels about people with disabilities.
And I had an experience with that when I got my current job. So I was interviewed by 2 field managers, that's what we call them. And when I got the job to like, hey, we want to hire you. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So that's my first job out of the blindness community. So, okay, I need to make sure they know that I need accommodations. So I call HR and I say, hey, I need accommodations. And they're like, okay, I'll get back to you on this. And I'm like, okay. So I told them what I needed. And I had to pretty much do a second interview just to tell them how I would perform each task of my job before they offered me the job. Because they never had anyone who was blind. Well, I take that back. I have a coworker who is blind, but she's not as blind as me. And so and I'm sure everyone in HR is new. And so they never had to experience that. And I had to kind of reassure them that like, hey, I can get the job done. It takes time. Yes, a lot of time. But there's modifications that I can do. And I can do this. And thankfully, they believed in me. And obviously, I have the job. But that doesn't always work that way for people because of people's misconceptions of people with disabilities.
It just sucks that you have to legitimately like prove yourself and like have like take that extra step to like say, yes, I can do this and this is how I would do it. Because I mean, I've done the same thing for previous jobs and it's just kind of unsettling because you're like, if I could only see, like none of this would be a situation right now. Like I would have gotten the job right away. Yeah, like I wouldn't have to be worried about how they perceive me and how, competent I come off to them. And just like that first impression and like how much do I tell them? How much do I wait to tell them? And it's just so stressful. And I really wish it wasn't that way.
It's unfair because we go to school to become more marketable, to prove that we can do more. We did our time. We paid our dues. We paid our dues. We go to these interviews. We do everything right. And then at the interview, we have to go above and beyond to convince these people that, not only are we fit for this job, but we have to make them feel comfortable with our disability. How fucked up is that?
Like, not only do you have to be the most marketable, but you have to be the best dressed, the most articulate, the most likable. Just you have to be over the top in every area.
Makes
and
you feel
thankfully,
like
with my job, I was hired over COVID, so everything was just over the phone or over video chat, and the computer programs that they used were accessible. So I didn't even say anything for a very long time because I didn't need any accommodations right off the bat. And I just let people find out on their own because it's not something I had to disclose. And it was a non-factor. So by the time they found out that I was blind, they had already realized that I could do the job, no problem. But I do recognize that for most people, that's not an option. We're back to doing things in person, and they're going to know the second you hit that door.
Yeah, not even that, but like, I remember going to like job readiness seminars and things like that. And we discussed like, when do you disclose your disability to your employer? And I walked away thinking that I would rather do it right away, unless it was a situation like Taryn and I wouldn't need any accommodations to get the job done. But I would tell them right away, because you don't want to waste your time going to an interview to someone that's not open enough to get informed about your disability and what you're going to need for that job, or just open-minded enough to even believe that you can do the job.
My mom actually thinks the same way that you do, because like when I was talking to her, she was like, before I even went on the first interview, she was like, you need to tell them that you're blind. And I'm like, well, I don't want to, because as soon as I tell them that I'm blind, they're going to resend their interview invitation. And so I don't know. I've always worked in the blindness community, so it was something new to me. So I never had to disclose that I was blind, because I've always worked in the blind community for the blind people. And so it was weird. And I kind of felt upset with my mom, honestly, because I'm like, well, why would you, like, you raised me, of all people, you should know. I mean, I can do the job, but like, how people treat people who have disabilities. So of all people, you should know, maybe you should wait, And she's like, well, don't waste our time. Because if I was HR and you told me this and I knew that you had to have a driver's license for this job, I would tell you not to come to the interview. And it kind of upset me, because I'm like, well, that's not fair, because they're already counting me out before I even get into the door, and my qualifications don't even matter. So like, why did I go to school? Why did I pass my exam? If you're just going to judge me from the gate.
So I think everybody is different, and you choose whatever you feel like it's best for your situation, and everybody feels differently about it, but there's pros and cons to whatever you decide to do. And at the end of the day, like, it's your disability, and legally they can't ask you anything about it unless you open up that discussion. So don't feel like you have to do either thing.
Right. Yes. And this could be a whole podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Episode.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure it will be. But I'm curious, Karina, do you have any perceptions that the public has had that we haven't talked about so far?
Yeah, so my thoughts were kind of along the lines of how often the public, when you're walking and doing stuff with your kids, and they directly tell your child, like, oh, you're such a good helper.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for walking mom across the street, even though you're 2.
Or they tell you, oh, you're so lucky because you have your babies to take care of you.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
such good helpers.
Yeah.
They're such great helpers. Well, and that's what gets me, that oftentimes they're not even talking to me. They're talking to my kid. And I'm just like,
My kid can't even
I'm
change
just
her own
like,
pants.
no, he's 3 years old. He's not really doing a lot right now.
Right. If anything, I'm keeping him from killing himself by running out into the street right now.
Because if this kid can take care of me, they need to go get a job so I can chill and they can work.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really one that gets me every time. And of course, it goes back to like, some days, like, you take the time and you're patient and you're kind and you're like, no, like, you answer as politely as possible. But then there's other days where like, you're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, he's 3. He's not
3-year-old's telling me what
doing
to do.
shit for me. Yeah, he's just...
He's telling us across the street. Y'all didn't know?
Yeah, he's not my guide child.
Well, and it's demeaning. It's like they're putting you under a 3-year-old. Like, obviously, the 3-year-old is more competent to cross the street or to do whatever you're doing. And that's insulting.
That's very insulting. Do you not know who pushed this kid out? he didn't push himself out. So
you think he's making dinner every night? You think he scrubbed the toilet when we get home?
How do y'all respond to that?
Yeah, like...
Because I'm always like, I just kind of let it go. I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, because it's just too much. Sometimes I'm just like, it's too much. Yeah. It's too much. It's too overwhelming trying to get everything that you need to get done. And then also trying to educate somebody. I ain't got time for that.
I usually just laugh it off.
Yeah, like you have to kind of pick and choose your battles.
Respond with humor, I think.
Yeah.
I do sometimes. But yeah, there's other days where you can't.
Wait till your kids get older, because my oldest does help with some things, especially if we're in the store.
Mine does too.
Same.
But if she's helping, best believe she's getting a lip gloss or she's getting something special because
so it's not for
helping.
free.
Like, she's not doing this out of the kindness of her heart. Come on now. This is a paid service.
Look, if my kid is old enough to where she can handle telling me what color the car is to make sure that's the right Uber that we're getting into, she's going to do it. The way I tell her sometimes is, you're part of this family and everybody in this family contributes. And sometimes you're going to have to contribute in those ways.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, y'all, but the way I feel about it is I created her all the way through. So them eyeballs are mine until she turns 18.
Hell no.
Yes.
Fuck up.
No, and I think it's okay. Like, I mean, you know, sighted parents ask their kids for help all the time. But of course, like, because we have our kids do certain things, like, it's not because we can't do it. It's because, like you said, they contribute to the family. Like, this is what we do for each other. Like, it's not a big freaking deal.
It's not just blind people or sighted people that think that way, though. It's blind people too. Like, I don't want to ask my kid for help because I don't want to have to depend on them. But I'm like, shit, if you could tell me if this is our Uber, or if you could tell me what color your shirt is, tell me.
Look, we are a family unit and everybody is helping for us to get from point A to point B. And especially if you're old enough, obviously I'm not going to depend on my 2-year-old, but my 7-year-old is old enough to understand the mission. So if you can help, you're going to help. And then when she was little too, like, I used to make a game out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I would be like, okay, let's find the pink bow. And she would find the bow. I'm like, okay, find the bow that matches this bow. And like, to her, it was a matching game. But to me, it was me trying to make sure she had the right bows.
Absolutely.
I just consider that homeschooling. You're teaching colors. You're teaching matching.
That's what
when I asked Scarlett to, like, we have one of those touchscreen ovens. We bought the house with it. I hate it. Whatever. I'm like, okay, let's find the bake button. And she finds it. That is homeschooling. Okay. I'm teaching her how to read. I'm teaching her how to turn an oven.
How to cook.
Yes.
And
okay, we're going to make some sourdough donuts up in here.
Mm-hmm. You know, my baby, not my baby, she's 7, but Ari likes audio describing movies. And she likes, like, whenever, yes, girl. And then whenever, like, I remember one time one of our cupboards was open and she was like, Mommy, the cupboard on the top left, like, she was so specific. And I was like, wow. And I think at the time she was 4. And I was like, wow, like,
My 3-year-old does that.
Because my kid is so used to describing stuff.
Yeah.
At 4 years old, she knew her left from her right, and she knew how to describe something to make sure that I knew what she was talking about.
Yep.
It like helped with her vocabulary because we talked so much.
My God.
And it just
being blind really does help your kids. Like whether you believe it or not.
It does. Their speech coming
They're
fast.
pretty some smart kids.
No, it's so true. I see my 3-year-old and how much he speaks and how eloquent he is for his age. And I'm like, and I see other, 3-year-olds in his class, and I'm like, they're barely speaking. Like I could barely understand anything they're saying. And I truly think it's that because like we have them, tell us things and check in with us and like, what is this? What is that? We talk to them so much more than sighted parents
do. Yeah.
And obviously I think it's a balance too. You don't want to make your kid feel responsible to help you because of your blindness or whatever. But at the same time, if they're getting older, then there's no reason why they couldn't.
And they want to.
Absolutely.
Like they want to help. Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything to add?
I think I do, just because I hear this. I've heard this more than once, and I'm sure y'all have too, but it really irks my nerves when someone is like, oh, wow, I just don't know how you do it with your blindness. If I went blind, I would kill myself.
And they think it's a compliment or something.
Right. Is that a compliment? How the fuck am I supposed to feel about that?
Like your life is better not even happening, not even existing.
And what I really want to say is, well, I'm sorry you think so little of yourself, your capabilities, your resilience as a human being, to not think that you could adapt to something like that happening to you. And honestly, it could be you. At the blink of an eye, something could happen and you could have a disability. And that's how you're going to overcome that, by thinking, oh, I'd rather be dead than deal. People with disabilities go on to have full lives. And it's so insulting that people think that our quality of life, obviously it is affected by our disability, but I think any number of things could affect your quality of life, not just a disability. And you can still have a beautiful life in spite of those things.
Absolutely.
I agree.
I always love when you have the person that's like, oh, I'm practically blind without my glasses. My contacts. And I'm just like,
for one,
bitch, please. You don't know. Yeah.
My husband does that. When he's driving, he'll be like, oh my gosh, I cannot see anything. The sun is in my eyes. I'm like, well, bitch, you can see something because we're still on the road.
Hello.
Oh, the best one, the very best one I've had is when I'm in an Uber and I have somebody, like a driver, just say, oh yeah, I'm blind, in this eye. And I'm over here freaking out, like, should you be driving?
I've had that before too.
I think it's so funny when people see that you have a disability, they want to come to you with their own little disability. And usually it's not even like a legal disability. It's like, I have tendonitis in my left ear or whatever.
Trying to fit in. Like, it's not a privilege, guys.
Yeah.
Well, they're just trying to, they're trying to relate with you, and I'm like, no, like just sit down.
Relate that with both parents,
or your favorite food, or you can relate in other ways. People
love it.
I guess.
Well, I know that we've all had weird experiences with the public and their misconceptions, but have any of y'all had weird experiences with your families and their misconceptions or their like misguided thoughts?
Of course. Yeah.
Oh, she said absolutely.
And you would think that like family wouldn't be that way because hello, they're family. So I can see if it's like your fifth cousin, like maybe you haven't spent a lot of time with them.
Yeah, someone you're really distant.
Right. Yeah. But like your grandma, your mom, like your mom, like that.
Yeah.
There is like, okay, lady, like, come on now. You birthed me, you raised me. So you know the type of person that I am. And I just don't. One thing that I hate about, hate is a strong word. One thing I don't like that parent or family members do, I won't even say your parents, but family members in general, is say, it's kind of like the public. It's kind of like, oh, I'm so glad you had little Johnny. He can take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like little Johnny is in diapers and he can't even change his own poop. So like,
I'm wiping his ass right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm wiping his ass. So who's helping who? Like, who's taking care of who right now? And I just feel
He's never once cooked dinner.
Right.
Right.
Right. If it
Useless
wasn't
ass
for me, he would
helper.
starve. So it's like, how is he taking care of me? Yes, I won't see that it's not possible because when I get old, I told my kids, I said, okay, I'm gonna come stay 6 months with you, and I'm gonna stay 6 months with you, and then we're gonna rotate. So yeah, they probably will take care of me at some point, but
that's natural.
That's natural. Tell them that when they're like, when I'm like 80 or 90. Oh, I'm so glad little Johnny's taking care of you. Not when he's like 2 days old.
Look, if we wanted someone to take care of us, we wouldn't have children. We would hire
I would go get a sugar daddy.
a sugar daddy. Something. Not
Right.
a kid. I got to potty train first.
That I gotta feed, keep alive.
Shit. That's a big investment for little return.
Right?
Just saying.
Well, I always laugh too because there's those like expectations as a blind woman, right? You are expected to find a sighted dude that can take care of you, drive you around, like
That'd be nice.
do
but-
all of that.
I have a sighted husband, and people assume that often. And if they only knew that pretty much everything in the home I take care of, the children, my husband's in the military. He's gone a lot. I do most everything.
She's been through deployments, guys. Like she can take care of kids. They're still
People
alive.
just assume that because I have a sighted husband, he does everything. Now he drives, don't get me wrong, but like not everywhere I go, my husband drives me either. So that gets very frustrating because if they only knew the division of labor in my home.
I'm sorry to break it to you, but blind husband, sighted husband, I don't think it really matters. The woman kind of still does everything.
The domestic labor falls on the woman.
Right.
And you men out there, don't get offended. You know it's true.
Right. Tell me
Who's your kid's teacher and pediatrician? What size shoe they wear? What size clothes they wear?
Who do they ask? Exactly. Like they don't ever ask dad, oh, what size clothes do they wear? The school calls mom first. The doctor calls mom first. Even when I go to the doctor's office, they don't even address dad, which I think is kind of crazy. But like we're both sitting in there and they're, Mom, how is their appetite? Mom, how is this? And I'm like, is this really happening? Like, is dad invisible? Or like what? It's crazy.
That's a whole nother episode too. Well, I wanted to mention in my family that I actually have a couple of family members that are blind. And the crazy thing is, like, we're not even related genetically, it's by marriages. And the wildest thing is that my family members will assume that I can see more than the others because I do more non-visually. So they just assume that I can see more, not that I've learned how to do things non-visually, but I must have more vision. And that's why, like, they can't wrap their mind around the fact that you can still do things without vision. And it gets frustrating because they don't know how much I can see. And like, it's not worth speculating about, but it's just frustrating because people who are totally blind are able to run full households and function in everyday society. So why does it matter, like the hierarchy of blindness, like who can see what? Yeah.
I feel like whenever I talk to Uber drivers and I tell them that Axel is like totally blind, or according to Zanaya, he's super blind. They're surprised.
Super blind.
They're surprised that two blind individuals are holding down a household. And when I say that I can see a little bit, I'm like, they're like, oh my gosh. Obviously, they think that I do everything.
Well, it's funny that you guys talk about this because I feel like this happens like even with my family and just, regarding me and my partner, like he's blind, but he can see more than me. Right. So if there's ever things that I'm like, I'm having a hard time doing this, I have my family say, well, can Martin do it? And I'm like, for real? Like, you guys, like, this is why I moved away from you guys. Sorry. Not sorry. But yeah, like it happens so often. And I'm just like, it drives me a little crazy because I'm like, you guys know I'm the primary, like, well, for a while there
parent,
too. Like when I was the stay-at-home mom, like I did everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It just makes me laugh a little bit when I'm like,
people ask their partners for help all the time. Like today, I was trying to open my Prosecco and I was having trouble. And so I called my husband. I was like, help me with this shit. I'm having trouble. And that had nothing to do with how
not
much
a blind
I could
thing.
See.
Yeah.
Well, see, with us, like, our dynamic is very much a team because we're both completely blind and we really do work like a team, and like there's things like, and you can really see it when we go out. There's certain things that we have it down, it's like smooth. Like he'll put in the car seats, I put in the kids, he'll sit in the front, I'll sit in the back with the kids. Like we got it down, and it's just like, it really is a team effort for us because not one of us can do more than the other. Or if we're not able to do something, the other one steps in and takes over.
Yeah.
And that's kind of similar how me and Axel are. Like when because we take the kids to school in an Uber if they don't walk. And so I grab Zane's car seat, he grabs Anaya's. Like he puts Anaya's car seat in, he puts her in the car. I do the same with Zane. And if we're going, okay, where are you sitting at? Oh, I'm gonna sit in the back. All right, I'm gonna get in the front. So it's like we tag team it and people are, it's crazy because people are like, oh my God.
People are amazed by that. And I'm just like,
absolutely.
Like, bro, I'm just like, how do your relationships work? Are y'all not splitting labor like that? Like, is your wife doing all of these things? I think it really amazes them how well we work as a team.
And they're like, oh my God, your husband, like, hold on now. Don't use the H word, but they're like,
I always correct people too. I'm like, no, not yet.
But
he hasn't earned that title yet. Right. Nope.
Right. And they're like,
so funny.
He doesn't want my help or anything. Because I'm like, well, we're pretty independent. We don't ask for help unless we like transportation. We won't ask for help unless we're like,
you really need it.
It's like get an Uber. Mom can take us somewhere or something like that. But people are always like, even family, oh, you guys need our help. And it's like, we don't, because we rarely ask for help. Like we are literally just is us four and the dog most of the time. Like nobody really knows what we do because we just do it on our own. And if we are just tired or if we feel like it'll be easier to get like a ride or something, then yeah, we'll do it. But like Axel took Zane to his basketball game today, both ways in an Uber, and it was just him and Zane. And it's common, like we do it all the time. And I don't think family understands that we actually can do it.
Yeah.
And maybe they just want to be needed. I don't know.
Well, I think you can also go too far in that direction because I've done that personally where I have not wanted help because I didn't want people to assume that I couldn't do things on my own, especially when my oldest was born. I was a single mother. And I didn't want anybody to think I couldn't do things for myself. So I'd never, ever ask for help. And I took it too far because anybody needs help sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a single parent, you need help. So you can also take it too far.
Yeah. It's kind of like what we were saying earlier about like having your kids help and how it really is a balance.
Yeah. I know Axel hates asking for help. And I feel like it's probably because, and I could be wrong, I don't want to speak for anyone, but I feel like it's probably because he feels his family thinks that he can't do anything without them or he just needs their help. And he absolutely hates for help. I will ask for help from his mom before he will.
I get that so much.
Yeah.
And you know why? So I'll tell you, and I'll tell you, I think a big part of it is, so you and I are both with Mexican dudes, right?
Yes. He's
and well, it's there, right?
It still counts.
It's still there.
And
it's a dominant race.
Right? Yes. And so
I don't know. It's true. I'm just talking out of my ass.
She's like, no, that's dominant. Do you remember Punnett Square's Mexican range pie?
Yes. anything with color, the darker it is, the higher it goes. I'm just saying.
You go. We're actually trying to switch how things have been for the last 2,000 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
the minority majority.
In that culture, like you just don't ask for help, especially the dude of the house. Like he's supposed to be the boss man. Like he doesn't need help. He's supposed to hold it down by himself.
Oh, okay.
And it's the whole that's the whole mindset. And I say that because my dude is the same way. It drives me crazy.
That makes sense of because we have a thing going on, and that makes sense that you say that because
and that's how it is. And again, like same, I would ask his mom for things. So now we don't have any family around, but when his family lived by, like I would be like, can you ask? And he would refuse. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ask, but I'm like,
I don't
like
no shame.
I'm like, it really sucks that I'm the one that has to go ask your mom. Like, but it's that whole, it's the pride, it's the culture. Like you're the dude of the house. You need to take care of your family, and you need to do it by yourself. So
that makes sense.
Yep, I got you, girl.
That makes a lot of sense. Oh, it's annoying. I'm just like, damn, just ask for help. She'll say
it's not
yes.
Gonna kill you. Yeah, it's not gonna kill you. And it's sometimes for like basic shit
simple
too.
stuff.
And I'm just like, for real, dude? Like you just need a ride to whatever doctor's appointment. Like just if your mom can do it, please ask. Like it's not that hard.
Save us some money.
And it's free. Yeah. Does anybody else have any like family things they want to share?
I do, but I'm a little scared. I hope they're not gonna listen. But
tune out right now.
She didn't mean it.
Well, I'm not gonna say names. Right. So I have a friend. And when she got married with she's blind, and her completely blind husband, they got married. And when their family posted their wedding pictures, the hashtag was love has no disability.
What?
And I had a huge issue with that because it was like, first of all, it does. I mean,
oh my gosh!
Anybody who's married knows that it's like, we got a broken leg this month. We're really going through it.
Wait, I thought you were going to say something like "Love is blind." That was
that would have been worse. You know what? Retrospectively, ooh, that was a big word.
That's a big word.
I know. I'm proud of myself. Okay.
They would have gotten sued.
They would have.
Oh, Netflix would have came in hot.
Insane part of the show. Get out of here.
That would have been better. That would have been better than just saying like love has no disability, because yes, the fuck it does. Both of the people are blind. Like, and why? It just, again, it goes back to making disabilities negative. And I get it. Like, it's not what anybody would prefer. Like, that's not the cards anybody wants dealt to them in their life. But again, I don't know why people walk around this earth thinking that physical disabilities means that your quality of life is shit.
Yeah.
Yes, because there's disabilities that are invisible. There's people that maybe don't have a physical disability, but their spirit and their soul is so fucked up that they're going to be miserable forever.
Yep.
And it's just like, just because you see someone with a physical disability and you can't imagine that you could have a happy life living that way, doesn't mean that that's their reality.
And y'all could have had a really cute hashtag.
Right?
I want to know.
Or
that wasn't it.
Hashtag Sosa to Williams, or I come up with a bunch of them.
Team Williams,
or something.
Yeah.
Did the hashtag stick? Please tell me it didn't.
Yeah,
like did other people?
Well, it was someone that would have gotten, I think, offended if like, I don't think I even said any. I talked about it with Jamel, my husband, but we never said anything to.
Sometimes it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Bigger blow up.
And I don't think they'll really understand it. Like, I think that they would get, defensive about it or whatever. because I really don't think it was coming from a malicious place, but it's just something that they're not going to understand. So actually, I do hope they're listening.
But you know, like, I guess this isn't really family, but just people's perception in general. So first of all, Axel's blind. And so am I. I just said I'm blind, so I don't have to like explain what I can and can't see. And like when we get into cars, whatever, with Ubers, they're like, "Oh, how did you guys meet?" And they're like infatuated with this. Oh my God, these two blind people, they got together, and oh my God, they have kids. And it's like, oh, because you're blind, you're not gonna find love. Like, who's gonna want to love you? And so it's kind of like, I don't know. It's weird because I guess if you're blind, you can't do anything. Like, you can't go to school, you can't have sex, you can't date. Like,
it's like they
can't
assume
shower.
that we don't want the same things that everybody else wants, like a relationship and a family. No, we mentioned this in our dating episode, but I get all the time because my husband is sighted that they're like, "Oh, you must have married him because you can't see him." Ha ha ha. And first of all, my husband is
insulting
very
as fuck.
handsome. But at the same time, you think because I'm blind, I got to date a uggo? I'm not trying to do that.
Yes, you did.
I'm going to use the word uggo.
But I was going to say, like, before you said that, I was going to say that I always tell people, you don't know that blind people are the most thoughtiest people you will ever meet in your freaking life.
No, look, we've said this before, but blind people be fucking.
They are, yeah.
And they're shallow too. These motherfuckers, let me tell you the trick they got. These blind men will come up to you and shake your hand and encircle your wrist because apparently they can see how big you are. Depending on your wrist size.
I've heard that, and it creeps me out a little bit.
Or they'll hug you and try to see how big your boobs are.
I mean, but don't get me wrong. There's some chicks out there too, blind chicks that are the same as the men. So it's like,
for sure.
Don't be surprised if you get hit on by a blind person. Just saying.
Thanks for coming to our TED Talk.
Right. And just in case you're wondering, we can be attracted to voices alone.
Right. Like, I always used to tell people that, like, your person, I pay more attention to your personality than your appearance. I just got lucky that Axel is actually pretty handsome. Because it helps me make beautiful kids.
Because looks fade over time. You're not going to look the same in 20, 30, 40, 50, 90 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to be with someone who has an ugly personality. Ew. I've done that before. I won't do that again. But it's like nobody wants to do that.
So funny how like we'll be out in public and we've had so many people stop us and like say, "You guys make beautiful kids," and I'm like, "Okay, thank you," but like,
you think we wouldn't?
Yeah,
and or. You guys are such a beautiful couple. And I'm like, okay, well, is it because we're both
beautiful family?
Beautiful family all the time. Yeah.
Like, is it because I'm black and he's like white and Mexican?
I like to think that it's all of the above. I like to think that it's because, yes, we're biracial and that's beautiful within itself. But not just that, we're disabled. And at some point, we do have to be proud of that. I think we do have to be proud of the fact that, we're two blind people and we're making this shit happen.
Doing the damn thing.
A family and there is nothing wrong with that. I don't mind people coming up to me and I have a beautiful family because the fuck I do. Like
it just makes me like, and I don't know, like, because we get it a lot. Like
we do too. And I'm like, are you sincere or are you just like, is it like a pity thing?
People, to love them. And they accidentally had kids.
Accidentally had kids?
That wasn't no accident.
True, but it's not because I was blind.
You didn't know how to put a condom on. Yeah.
I was too blind to put a condom on.
You should tell people that.
I always feel like if it was socially acceptable, I feel like people would legitimately ask, like, how'd you guys fuck? Like,
well, they would definitely ask.
How did he know where to put it?
So we do the blind cafe sometimes, and it's just this experience where people can go in and like have a blindfolded dinner, essentially. And so you're in the dark, and they like ask all the questions. And when you're in the dark, you you can't tell who's asking the questions. So they ask all the questions like, well, how do you have sex? And I remember at the time I was pregnant and I was like, well, I mean, I figured it out. So
I mean, how do you have sex? Like,
right.
It's
with
not
the lights
hard.
on, with the lights off. Like,
Right.
what's happening here?
Top of somebody and fumble your way through.
Right. Just see where it fits.
Oh my gosh.
That is too
Okay, so I used to go to this program when I was a teenager, and I didn't ever take this class, but the adults used to take it at one of our state rehab centers, and I actually worked there for a little bit. But they used to have like these sex ed classes, and they would have the banana, and they would practice putting the condom on the banana. And
I'm like, so I taught one of those classes.
That's funny. I took a human sexuality class in college.
Oh, me too.
And
I did too, actually.
the professor actually was super cool, but she didn't warn me one time. We were talking about female condoms, and she was like describing how they put it on or whatever. And she like came up in front of my desk and was like, do you want to feel it? And I was so embarrassed. But I think I was just embarrassed because I didn't know she was going to do that. Like, I didn't mind feeling it, and I did. And fuck it.
Like,
but
warn me
at the time, yeah, like, hey, you warned me. And she apologized for it afterwards because I'm sure I like was blushing hard. But yeah, I just felt so weird being the only one sitting there filling this female condom. But I mean, again, her intentions were good. You know, it's just, it was embarrassing.
I follow this working girl on TikTok. She's so cool. I can't remember.
A sex worker?
Yes. And she was...
girl.
Yeah, I know. She's a working girl.
So I use that
She's
term
working all right.
She calls herself. So
okay.
That's why I felt okay by saying that. But she said there are these like see-through panties that they wear that are like really thin. And that's what they use because she works at a brothel in Nevada. And everybody has to be protected. Like there's no sharing of anything like that. So they wear these panties.
So how does it work? So you
just put them on and you do the do down there, but it's like
over them?
It's for oral. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I would love to follow her.
Interview a sex worker. Just
Me too.
That would be freaking awesome.
Oh my God. If you're a sex
future
worker,
episode, no.
Yeah.
Hit us up if you're a sex worker, like any type of sex worker.
If you're a sex worker, please hit us up.
Especially if you're blind. If you're a blind sex worker.
Oh my God. If you're a blind sex worker, we want you to talk to you. I will pay you to come on the podcast.
With our pennies. We'll pay you.
Please call 303. No, I'm just
Wow, that'd be dope.
I don't know how we got here.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
This is what happens when I drink too much. I'm just kidding.
I like it. Do it more.
Well, if any of our listeners want to comment on anything we've shared today, dental dams, see-through panties,
or if you are a blind sex worker,
right?
Yes.
Hit us up. What's our email? bdbu@gmail.com?
No, it's babiesdownbottlesup@gmail.com. Literally the whole thing.
Full words.
Literally the whole thing. And then our Twitter is at BDBU
pod.
Yes. And then our Instagram is at BDBU_pod. And then, oh my God, our TikTok. We have a TikTok. And we have over 400 views on our first video.
That we posted today.
Or anything.
You know,
right.
We're influencers or whatever.
It's at BDBU03. Don't ask.
How about this?
Follow.
We'll put everything down below in the description.
Just click
that out. Yes.
This was fun.
Well, we're so happy to have all of you in our second episode. Again, we hope the first one went well. Tell us. Leave us reviews. Subscribe. Interact with us on all the social media. We're so glad you're here. And we can't wait to talk to you next time. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Bye.